I'd like to call this meeting of the Francis Marion University Board of Trustees together to order. And I'd like to begin the meeting tonight with a moment of silence as we extend our condolences to the Charleston community and the congregation of Mother Emanuel AME Church. We pray for God's blessing and grace for those whose lives were taken, their families and friends. Amen. Amen. At this time, I'll call on Ms. Davis to call the roll.
Mr. Bryson?
Here.
Dr. Blunt?
Here.
Mr. Coleman?
Here.
Dr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Elmore?
Here.
Reverend Finkley? Here. Mr. Freeman?
Here.
Mr. Blunt?
Here.
Mrs. Hartung? Mr. Jackson?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Fields? Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mr. McIntyre?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Dr. O'Kelly?
Here.
Mrs. Richardson?
I'll note for the record that Mrs. Richardson has an excused absence. Also note for the record that the media has been notified in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act and that a quorum is present for this meeting. In your packages, we have the minutes from the February 26, 2015 meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to read those? And
Move they be approved as submitted.
motion by Mr. Coleman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Freeman to approve the minutes of the February 26th meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. Next, we'll move to committee reports. The Executive Affairs Committee met earlier, and no action was there to be reported at this time. Next is the Academic Affairs and Accreditation Committee. Dr. Bunch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to bring to the board today a resolution approving the Bachelor of Science in Healthcare Administration degree program. This was approved by a committee, and I'd like to bring this to you for your consideration and your action today.
All right, there's a motion from Dr. Bunch for approval of Resolution 0115. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Elmore. Is there any discussion about this new degree that's being offered? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Yes, sir. You can continue on.
I can continue the report. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Flanagan brought to our attention today that we have 18 new full-time faculty members coming to Francis Marion. 14 are on the tenure track, and there's a new faculty orientation planned for these new faculty members. Dr. King informed us today that changes were made to orientation for new students. There are 4 orientation events, 2 with 2 overnight stays and 2 are one-day events. We currently have 438 new freshmen registered for the fall. Our returning students are about equal from last year, and by August we're anticipating an overall enrollment to be about the same as last year. The McNair Scholarship remains our premier scholarship with 3 new scholars announced this year, and the Honduras Scholarship replaces the Patriot Scholarship. There are 8 Honduras scholarships awarded this year. In May, 364 students received degrees. That brings to a grand total of 669 graduates for the 2014-15 year, so congratulations to our school and those graduates. The financial assistance counselors to date have awarded financial aid to 3,675 students, and there's been a small increase of 1% for Pell grants moving forward. Dr. Chapman brought to our attention highlights for a number of faculty and departments. It was a great report, so thank you very much, but we do want to highlight specifically today the School of Business. Congratulations to them for their AACSB accreditation. The AACSB accreditation is all about engagement, innovation, and impact. It's every 5 years, and after every 5 years they produce a peer review research. And also we're approved through 2019, so congratulations to them. And it was communicated to us that the accreditators were impressed with our students, for their knowledge to communicate their understanding of what they know. So congratulations to the School of Business. Very good job. Round of applause to them. Good job. And then finally today, Mr. Chairman, have the great news for several of our staff members. Dr. Keith Best is leaving the Provost office and will be chairing the Department of Fine Arts, so congratulations to Dr. Best. Dr. Alyssa Waters will be moving to the Provost office, so congratulations to both of these people. And then finally, Dr. John Hester, after 33 glorious years at Francis Marion, is moving to retirement. And so he's had multiple chairs, associate provost, and we want to stop right now and just thank him for his wonderful contributions to our university here. So thank you very much. As I said earlier, Mr. Chairman, he is where we all want to be one day, retired, happily, and successful. So that concludes my report today.
Great. That's a great report, and congratulations to the School of Business and John Hester, and it's a great report. Next on the agenda is Development and Alumni. Mr. Coleman.
We had a very good meeting. Dow Bridges brought us up to date on the development part of the foundation. The Foundation Board of Directors elected officers, including Tim Norwood as new chair, Toy Nettles as vice chair, Jane Huggins as treasurer, and new members on the board include some very good members: Kathy Houston, James Harrell, and Hood Temple. The annual audit resulted in an unmodified opinion, the highest level of compliance it could get. The annual fund saw a significant increase in donors again this year as of May the 1st. FMU outreach programs continued to thrive with the nonprofit leadership completing its 13th year. Boy, time flies, Fred. Since its inception, 364 nonprofit leaders from 36 counties have come through the program. Arts International was held in downtown Florence on April 9th this year and had an estimated attendance of 5,000. Planning, and that was very successful. Planning has already begun for next year. Next, Julian Young gave us the Alumni Affairs update, talked about the Patriot Power Luncheons, where the Alumni Affairs continue to host lunches at businesses throughout the area, and where Francis Marion graduates are employed. The event was held at Monster.com. Honda and insurance are being planned. The Young Alumni Advisory Council, called YAC, remain very active with social activities and community service events. That pretty much concluded their report, and if you have any questions, be glad to entertain or have them answered.
Any questions for Mr. Coleman? Thank you, sir, for a good report. Next on the agenda is Financial Affairs and Facilities. Dr. Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. President. Just start with a review of the budget summary. I call that to your attention in your attachments. Just a couple of comments here. Total anticipated revenue in the budget is $82.21 million. Year-to-date revenue received is $75.61. Much of the difference in the budget is due to actual revenues, due to significant contractual revenues are received typically in the last weeks of June. Probably first week or two in July should be concluded. General fund expenditures noted below are progressing as anticipated, with approximately 92.5% of our budget expended at this time of this report, with 8.33% of the year remaining. Employees, our total employee headcount sits at 487 and FTE at 437.31. We're down 5 employees from our last quarterly report. 4-year change is 11 in headcount and 11.38 in FTE. Since our last report, the only changes in grants and scholarships are overall the programs administered by financial system decreased by $827,000. This is primarily due to a decrease in federal Stafford loan estimates, and the percent of undergrads receiving assistance remains projected at 87%. We do have a resolution for budget approval. That's why we're all here today, coming out of the committee with unanimous approval. The Board of Trustees for Francis Marion University hereby approves the 2015-16 annual budget for the university as presented and attached which includes a 3.25% increase tuition and all other university fees effective with the fall 2015 semester, and you have an attachment of the 2015-16 budget, Mr. Chairman.
All right, there's a motion from Dr. Dozier for the approval of the university budget, Resolution 0215. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second from Mr. Coleman. Is there any discussion of this motion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously.
Just a couple other comments on facilities update. As you came into the campus today, I think you'll see that the 501 highway project is complete, certainly a nice addition. The health sciences complex now is well underway with completion anticipated in fall of 2016. Right now they're doing some foundation installations ongoing, underground slab, that type of thing. And I think that concludes, no other business, Mr. Chairman, that concludes our report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments for Dr. Dozier? Thank you, sir, for a very good report. Thank you for the hard work. Next is Student Affairs and Athletics, Mr. Lee.
Mr. Guns, go give the report.
Give that on behalf of the chairman. Student Affairs and Athletics Committee met this afternoon. At first, had a report from Dean Ramey. The Student Leadership Conference was held on March 28th with 75 students in attendance, which was a significant improvement over the past. Presentations were conducted by faculty, staff, and students. The conference also included a leadership case study competition with 4 teams competing. There were 7 students who were named recipients of the Pride of the Patriot Award at the Student Life Awards on April 21st. Eligible students are actively involved on campus and have maintained a 3.0 GPA or above. The Students Government Association election results was President Samuel Smoot, Vice President Frederica Presley, Treasurer Hayes McClendon, and Secretary Glennie Tanner. We also had an opportunity to meet and hear a report from our new Student Government President, Samuel Smoot, who is a senior here at Francis Marion and native of Columbia, and talked about his ability and desire to get more of the campus students involved in the activities of Francis Marion University. Also, we heard a report from Athletic Director Hartzler. We've hired a new women's basketball coach, head basketball coach. Her name is Jerry Porter. She's a graduate of Liberty University and has 15 years of experience as a head coach, 11 of those years in a Division I level. The GPA for all student athletes this year, and I think this is something you should take note of, is 3.04 for the spring semester and 3.05 for the year. The graduation rate for student athletes at Francis Marion is 70%, which is pretty significant. And we had 27 student athletes that had a 3.75 or higher GPA. And on the fundraising side, indicated that we have $241,410 cash and in kind, and out of the $245,000 pledge, that's about a 98% collection rate. That's, I would say, extremely good. I also mentioned to you that freshman move-in day this year is August 22nd between 8 and 2. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gunn. Any questions for Mr. Gunn? Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the President's report. Dr. Carter.
Mr. Chairman, let me begin by thanking the board for supporting the budget proposal that came before you today. We go through this every year. No one wants to raise tuition. When we do raise tuition, we work diligently to make sure that those students that are on scholarships and other financial assistance are not handicapped as a result of that tuition increase. So we work diligently to try to raise that additional money or acquire that additional money to buffer essentially those increases. One word, one observation. John Hester is not actually leaving us. John will continue to teach 2 courses every semester. John asked me to clarify that point every time that we announce he's retiring. Technically, John's retiring, but he'll stay a part of the FMU community, and John will return to the classroom where he's made so many terrific contributions over the years. We will, this fall, this November likely, we will bring a proposal to the board to talk about a small reorganization of the academic part of the university. As the fall semester begins, I'll ask Dr. Flanagan, the chair of the faculty, to get a sense of the faculty relative to breaking out the health sciences programs into a separate school of health sciences. We've discussed that before. Becky and I have had numerous discussions about it. Rich has been a part of that discussion as well. Just to remind all the board members, right now the College of Liberal Arts is the core of the university. Then we have 2 professional schools, the School of Education and the School of Business. So the School of Health Sciences would be the 3rd school, professional school. We've grown to the level in health sciences now with the nursing program, the nurse practitioner program, the nurse educator program, the physician assistant study program that'll be up next year, and then hopefully in 2018, beginning in 2018, we'll start introducing the therapy, speech, occupational, and physical between 2018 about 2023, 2024. So we've really reached the point that there's enough critical mass in the health sciences that it makes sense to go ahead and break that out as a separate professional school. Assuming that the faculty endorses this proposal positively, I'll bring to the board a resolution in November asking the board to approve that change. And this is just by way of a preview that that's what's in front of us. And Becky, I'll send you a letter in August asking if you would work that through the faculty. Health sciences complexes, as Dr. Dozier gave the report, is just coming along superbly. That's going to be a wonderful facility. Now we're working on the design, the plaza itself, the fountain, perhaps a memorial statue that'll be a part of that fountain. The city has indicated that they will bear the expense of building the fountain for us with tip money, which will free up about $250,000 that now we can use for additional equipment and the like inside. Very, very generous offer coming from the mayor and city council. And yes, we plan to take them up on that offer. So, and Mr. Chairman, hopefully we will have for the board to review here at the August meeting, we hope, the depiction of what that front area will look like, what that grassy quad will look like, what the fountain will, so that the board can look at that and let us know that they're satisfied with it so we can move forward. The middle part of last month marked another unique retirement on the part of the university. Somebody who's very, I think, near and dear to everybody in this room. Miss Dot King retired middle part of May. And Dot has done so many things on this university. You know, it's Folly and I frequently talk about Miss Dot dealing with an event over at the house in which she would leave at 11:30 at night and be over at the dining facility the next morning at 5 o'clock to essentially participate in the feeding of the students. And Ms. Dott's done that for almost 3 decades on this campus. So in light of that, if all of you would mark on your calendar, on July 23rd, Folly and I are going to give a special reception for Ms. Dott and her family at the Wallace House. and recognize her years of service to the university. Again, that'll be July 23rd. It'll be 6:30 in the evening. And not just Miss Dot, but we'll highlight Miss Dot and her family, who've been a part of that support base for a long, long period. Mr. Chairman, let me talk very, very briefly about our Center for Excellence for College and Career Readiness. We announced this last year when Dr. Meredith Love and Dr. Matt Nelson went out and competitively won in a competition with 4 other universities that Center for Excellence for CHE funding. We've come to the end of our first year of that Center of Excellence. And of course, for me, one of the highlights of that year was the 8th grade academy that we sponsored on campus this summer. We brought, Meredith and Matt brought in, I think it was 18 8th graders. 8th graders that likely, in the judgment of their counselors, might not go to college unless the university intervened by bringing them into this 8th grade academy, which Meredith and Matt call Activate Academy. And I want to tell you that 2 things. One is how proud I am of Meredith and Matt making the commitment in which almost every year they're surrendering a substantial part of their summers to work on behalf of this kind of effort, but to also recognize that our faculty does stuff like this all the time. And these are things we too often don't see because they're not the broad strokes. They're the small things that ensure that students across this community, across this region, have the opportunity to go to college. Now, I will tell you this, and then I'll leave it alone, and I won't beat it to death, but for Meredith and Matt, this is a sheer, pure labor of love, okay? And this has been a terrific year for that Center for Excellence, and I'd certainly want to recognize their work for the board. We might ask them maybe at the August meeting of the board to come in and talk a little bit about that Center for Excellence to the entire board and maybe highlight some of the successes that they've had with that Center of Excellence. Similar vein, we just finished the first year of our staff leadership development program. We took 6 young developing staff members at the university and allowed them to work through a leadership program this past year. Most of the vice presidents participated in that program. They were able to do a lot of things, from participation with a legislative day to attendance at National SACS meeting to the development essentially of lunch meetings with luminaries across the region, across the state. The 6 participants have just completed that year. Their project was defining ways to better enhance student participation on campus. And they just yesterday presented to a number of us their plans and ideas. I think we were so impressed that we've also invited them to come in at the August retreat of the board and provide you that presentation. It's about a 20-minute presentation, but it's I think you'll appreciate their thoughts and ideas very much. And all 6 of them worked very, very hard getting to that point. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I guess I would just sum up by reminding you that we have the board retreat in August. That board retreat, the chair has decided, and I think this is a wonderful decision, that we would come in at 10 o'clock that morning and essentially do the retreat from 10 to 2, have a working lunch at the middle of the retreat, and then go into the summer board meeting at 2, finish at 6 o'clock, committee meetings and board meeting, have a social that evening so the board can deal with the retreat during the course of a single day, beginning at 10 in the morning and then ending that afternoon at the end of that board social, which would be on campus. So we'll get to you in about the next 3 weeks, a preview of the retreat, what we're proposing as at least the the plan of that retreat so that the board members can come back with ideas and suggestions, come back to the chairman with thoughts and ideas they might want to have included. As always, I want to thank the board for their participation today. Thank you for all the support you've given each of us, the administration, the faculty, the staff here, and the students this past year. And, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments for President Carter? I think I'm speaking on behalf of the board and saying thank you to you and the entire team here at Francis Marion and the great work you do. It's refreshing for me to come to a board meeting and to be involved in activities here when we know we've got such professional people in charge here, and we're in good hands here at Francis Marion, and I just feel proud and good to be a part of it. So thank you, sir, for your work and your team's work. Is there any unfinished business that needs to come before the board? If not, I do have 2 items of new business. It is time to implement the procedure per our bylaws for the election of officers for the new year, which would actually be for years 2016 and 2017. That procedure per our bylaws provides for us to set a nominating committee excuse me, to be appointed today. That committee would then report out their nominees at the August meeting. Then at the fall meeting, those nominees would be elected, and they would actually take office at the winter meeting in 1st of 16. So that's the chronology of what it is. So at this time, I'd like to appoint Mr. Lee, Dr. Dozier, and Dr. Bunch to serve as the nominating committee, and I'm going to ask Mr. Lee to chair that committee. So anyone interested in positions as far as officers of the board can be in contact with that committee. And they would report make their report at the August meeting of their recommendations of nominations, and then again, the election would actually occur in the fall meeting of the year. Lastly, under new business, it's time for me to do the evaluation of our agency head, President Carter. I'll be filling that out with Dr. Wages sometime this summer. So I think that report's due in August, if I'm not mistaken. But if anyone has any comments or suggestions they want to include in that report, please contact me between now and they say the first part of August, and we'll talk to you about that. But I will be completing that and sending it in, I believe it's by maybe the 1st or 2nd week in August. Is there any other business to come before the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would just point out that you do have, there's a dinner for the board and
Yes.
and faculty and
At
staff over at the Grill. I believe that begins at 6 o'clock, but
Great. Nice to always socialize and have a good time with the faculty. 6 o'clock at the Grill. I don't hear of any reason to have an executive session. So if not, if there's no other business to come before the board, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Bunch. Second by Mr. Freeman to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.